I've always lived a simple life, happy with a steady job, and some peace and quiet. I learned the value of hard work and discipline from my dad, who taught me everything about welding. It wasn't glamorous, but I took pride in the craftsmanship. I never needed much, just a job and someone to share my life with. That someone was Lucy, my high school sweetheart, who I thought would be my partner forever. But life has a way of surprising you. Our relationship started with big dreams, full of optimism, but reality hit hard. I worked long hours, often out of town, while Lucy went to college on the money I earned. I thought things were good, but little cracks started to show, and soon our marriage was falling apart. One night, driving down the highway with the radio on, I couldn't escape the memories of Lucy and everything that went wrong. I switched to a talk show about UFOs, anything to distract me. The truth was, I didn't just leave her. I ran, trying to escape the betrayal. Let me back up. I'm Stan Shipman. I was married to Lucy for 5 years. We were high school sweethearts and rushed into marriage thinking love would be enough. I was wrong. Money was never a problem. I'd been a welder since I was a kid, taught by my dad. After high school, I breezed through welding school and started working right away. I even did underwater welding and made good money, enough to put Lucy through college. Now she's a paralegal at a big law firm downtown. So, why am I running? Why am I on the freeway in the middle of the night? It all comes down to the woman I married and her bad influence of a friend. Lucy used to be sweet, but things changed. I loved her, and I didn't hesitate to pay for her college, despite her parents thinking I'd go broke. They underestimated me. She graduated debt-free, thanks to me. Things went downhill after she started working at McMaster in Fredericks. At first it was fine, but then her coworkers started influencing her. She'd go out with them once a week, which didn't bother me at first, but soon it became twice a week, including Fridays, our date night. When I brought it up, she brushed it off, saying we could go out on Saturdays and that she deserved time with her friends. Then her nights out stretched later and later, and her calls went straight to voicemail. I finally confronted her one Saturday morning. I asked what was going on with her late-night outings and if she was seeing someone else. She denied it, saying they just went for a bite to eat after drinks. I told her it needed to stop, and she agreed, promising to quit going out on Fridays. For a few weeks, things seemed to improve, but soon enough, she was back to her old habits. Suspicious, I installed a phone finder app on her phone to track her location. One Friday, I followed her to a bar. Inside, I found her sitting with a group, including one guy she was way too friendly with. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring, and when I confronted her, she claimed she took it off so she wouldn't lose it. One of the guys, Jake, stood up and introduced himself, smirking as he mentioned he worked with Lucy. The group chuckled, except Lucy. Jake squeezed my hand, trying to intimidate me, but he couldn't. I squeezed back, crushing his soft hand until I saw him wince and let go. I was just going to ask your wife to dance, if that's cool, he said, rubbing his hand. I looked at Lucy. Is that true? I asked, and she nodded slowly. Thinking this might reveal more, I nodded back. Go ahead, but remember, she's my wife, and I'll be watching. Lucy got up to dance, and I took Jake's seat, ordering a beer as most of the others drifted off. You don't own her, you know, said the woman next to me. And you are? I asked. Marie Compton. I've been mentoring Lucy, showing her the ropes. Right. So, Marie, who are you to give me marriage advice? I asked. I'm her friend, and like I said, I'm mentoring her. The partners like her, and she's got potential. I didn't like her tone and wondered what she was feeding Lucy. Well, I'm her husband. If something's interfering with our marriage, I need to know. Stan, Lucy needs to broaden her horizons, Marie said. She's only ever known you since college. She needs to spread her wings. Spread her wings. Or maybe something else. I shot back. No need to be crude, Marie said. But yes, maybe she needs to explore other things. You'll benefit in the end. Oh, really? How? I asked. She might learn a few things to bring back to you. I'm sure you're seeing someone when you're away on jobs, right? No, Marie. I work, get paid, and come home. I love Lucy and would never hurt her. Maybe you should broaden your horizons too, she smirked. I take my vows seriously. I trust Lucy does too. I notice you're not wearing a ring. Ever been married? Twice, she said. Let me guess, you cheated on them, didn't you? I asked. She shrugged. Yes, so. I do what I want. Well, Lucy's taken, and I expect you to respect that. Mary chuckled. Sure, you keep thinking that, she said. Jake and Lucy returned from the dance floor, and I stood to let Lucy sit between me and Marie, blocking Jake from sitting next to her. He didn't look happy, but I didn't care. So, Lucy tells me you're a welder. What do welders make these days? $15 an hour. Jake asked. Actually, I make over 35, more if I work underwater. I also paid for Lucy's college, I replied. You're paying off her loans? He asked. No, she has no loans because I paid in full. I also bought her that new Toyota. Didn't know welders made that much, but you get lots of women when you're out of town, huh? He said, elbowing me. No, I work 16 hours a day when I'm away. I take my vows seriously, I said. Jake smirked, and I didn't like where this conversation was going. I turned to Lucy. Did you drive here? Yes, she said. Good. I've had enough fun. I'm going home. I expect you to follow soon. I got up, knocking my cold beer into Jake's lap. Oops, sorry. Better go change those pants. Jake stood furious, but backed down when I warned him. Smart move, I said, turning to Lucy. You coming? I'm right behind you, she said quietly. Marie glared at me, but I didn't look back as I left. Lucy arrived home a few minutes after me. She stormed in, upset. What the hell was that? You embarrassed me. I embarrassed you, I replied. Are you following me? She asked. No, I was just grabbing a beer and saw you with your friends, I lied, something I hadn't done before. If anyone should be embarrassed, it's me. Seeing my wife acting like a giddy schoolgirl with some guy, and without her wedding ring, made me feel like you're ashamed of me. Is that it? Her face softened. Of course not. I just work with these people, and Jake's the attorney I work with the most. And Marie? She's higher up. She's been mentoring me. Does that include marriage advice? I asked. What do you mean? While you were dancing, Marie was telling me you need to broaden your horizons. I asked if that meant spreading your legs too, and she didn't deny it. Be honest, Lucy. Have you cheated? No, I haven't, she said, but she couldn't look me in the eye. You know I could never forgive that. Marie said you might be cheating when you're gone. Are you? No, I said firmly. We've known each other since 6th grade. Have I ever been unfaithful? She shook her head. No. I love you too much to hurt you. I work hard, often 16-hour days. You've seen my pay stubs. Yes, I know, she said. Then you know I've supported you, bought you a car, paid the bills, and I'm saving for a house. You can tell Marie to shove her advice where it belongs. She's divorced twice for cheating. Lucy was shocked. How do you know? She told me. She seemed proud of it. I don't trust her or Jake. They're up to something, and I don't want you caught in it. You haven't done anything wrong, right? No, I haven't, she said. I just enjoy going out with them. I'd like to spend time with you, too. Think you can start hanging out with your husband again? Of course, she said, wrapping her arms around me. I'm sorry. That's okay. There are only 3 things I've ever wanted. To be married to you, to be the best welder, and to have a family with you. She smiled. Well, you've got the first 2. Ready to work on the 3rd. I smiled back. Let's do it. We spent the rest of that night in the master bedroom, and for a couple of months, Things seemed to calm down. Lucy stayed home on Fridays, and I made an effort to be more loving, never bringing up Marie or Jake again, trusting Lucy to do the right thing. Then, one Friday night, I came home to a dark house, except for candles on the dining table. I smelled lasagna cooking, and thought Lucy had planned something special. The table was set with our best china, and when I turned around, I saw her in one of the shortest dresses I'd ever seen. It highlighted her legs, which she knew I loved. The dress barely covered her, and was completely backless. She wrapped her arms around me, kissed me deeply, and asked, "Do you like what you see?" "Definitely," I replied. "Good. Tonight's going to be special," she said. "It's a surprise. Go clean up, and I'll get dinner ready." After washing up, I returned to find the lasagna served, wine poured, and Lucy sitting at the table. I told her I didn't know which looked better, her or the lasagna. She laughed and said, "I hope you enjoy both tonight." As I ate, I started feeling strange and dizzy. I tried to stand but nearly fell. Confused, I looked at Lucy, barely able to speak before collapsing. When I came to, I was undressed and tied to a chair in our bedroom. My arms and legs were zip-tied, and there was a strange device around my waist. Furious, I shouted, "Lucy, what's going on?" Lucy walked in, but she wasn't alone. Marie was with her. "What is this?" I demanded. "Let me out of this chair." Marie calmly said, "No, it's best you stay put so you can watch your wife expand her horizons. You drugged me and tied me up for this." I yelled. "Yes," Marie replied. "Lucy knew you wouldn't agree, so I gave her something to knock you out. Now you can watch, and there's nothing you can do." I looked at Lucy, furious. "You went along with this. You know what this means." "I'm sorry, but Mary said it's just sex. It won't affect us, and I still love you." "That's not true, and you know it. I told you I wouldn't tolerate cheating. And what's this thing you put on me?" "It's a cage to remind you who's in charge now," Lucy said. "Untie me right now, or we're done," I warned. Marie walked over and gagged me. "You'll stay quiet while your wife enjoys herself with someone else." I tried to shake my head to stop her from putting the gag in, but I couldn't. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free from the chair. Marie stood up and walked to the door, letting Jake and another guy from Lucy's office enter. They looked at me and laughed. "Looks like the loser is ready," Jake said. "He's not cooperating," Marie replied. Jake punched me hard in the face. Then again, I could taste blood. Lucy screamed, "Don't hurt him. You promised. I owe him for ruining my pants. Now he'll watch as I screw his wife." He ripped Lucy's dress off. "Lose the underwear," he told her. Lucy hesitated, then took them off and handed them to Jake, who tossed them at me after sniffing them. Lucy got on her knees and started giving Jake a head while looking directly at me. I was shaking with rage, but Jake and Marie just laughed. "Your wife is good at this," Jake taunted. After he finished, Lucy moved on to the other man. I couldn't bear to watch. "You like watching this, don't you?" Marie asked, filming everything. "Admit it," she pressed, but I shook my head. When Lucy was done, Jake led her to the bed. "Now for the main event," he said, and I closed my eyes as I heard Lucy moaning. "Better than your husband?" Jake asked, and Lucy responded, "Oh yes, so much better." At that moment, all the love I had for her vanished. I had heard about men getting turned on by watching their wives with others, but all I felt was hatred. They went at it for the next hour, with Marie recording everything. When they were done, Jake and the other guy walked over to me. "Enjoy the show," they mocked, laughing. Then they pushed Lucy and Marie aside and peed on me, covering my face. I thought I'd be sick as Lucy laughed. Jake leaned down and warned me, "Say anything, and I'll make your life hell. From now on, your wife is mine. I'll do whatever I want, whenever I want." After they left, Marie walked over. "Don't cause any trouble, or it'll get worse," she said, Let him loose after I'm gone, she told Lucy, then left. Lucy removed the gag and cut the zip ties, then unlocked the cage. She started to say something, but I cut her off, grabbed my clothes, and called emergency. "What are you doing?" she asked, panicking. I told the operator about the attack and illegal detention. Lucy freaked out, trying to grab her phone and keys, but I stopped her. "You're not leaving," I said. "Please don't press charges. I don't want to go to jail." "Trust me, jail is the safest place for you right now," I replied coldly. "Get dressed. The cops will be here soon." "You don't know Jake and Marie. They'll come after you," she warned. "Get dressed," I repeated. Lucy, sensing my resolve, quietly put her clothes on. Her phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from Marie. "Everything okay?" I texted back. "Everything's fine. He's not happy, but he'll deal with it." I sent the message, hoping Marie would fall for it. When Lucy came back to the living room, the cops had arrived. I let them in, and they could tell right away something was wrong. One officer took my statement, called for an ambulance, and collected evidence from my face. The other officer talked to Lucy in the bedroom. After conferring outside, they came back in, and Lucy was brought out in handcuffs, crying. "Please don't let them arrest me. It was just for fun," she pleaded. I shook my head and turned away. More police arrived along with an ambulance. A female officer took Lucy away, and the officer who took my statement explained that she was being arrested for illegal detention, drugging, and sexual assault. "We need to take you to the hospital for blood and urine tests to see what they gave you," he said. I agreed, knowing more evidence would help. "You should also get a protection order," he added, handing me a card for a DA's office attorney. "She'll meet you at the hospital." I thanked him and went with the paramedics, who gave me a quick check on the way. At the hospital, they examined me, took samples, and gave me painkillers. Just as I was starting to relax, a woman entered. "Stan Shipman?" she asked. "That's me," I replied. "I'm Linda Calloway, the assistant DA on your case. How are you feeling?" "I've been better, but I'm okay." She briefed me on the situation, telling me that Marie, Jake, and the other man had been arrested. However, they might be released due to their company's influence. "I'm seeking a protection order for you," she said. "Thanks. Do you think it will help?" "Maybe, but no guarantees," she admitted. I understood. "I guess I'll just have to deal with it." She nodded. "They'll be in jail until Monday for now. You might also want to hire a divorce lawyer unless you plan on staying with your wife." "No, I'm done with her," I said. She told me I'd be kept overnight since my apartment was now a crime scene. She also asked if I owned a weapon, and I told her I didn't. After that, I fell asleep and woke up when they moved me to a private room. The next morning, my parents visited, and I told them everything. My father was furious. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I'm divorcing her," I said. "Good. Let me find you a lawyer," he offered. He also agreed to give me a ride home when I was discharged. Later, Lucy's parents came by, shocked and embarrassed by what she had done. Her father asked if I planned to divorce her, and I confirmed it. "I'm truly sorry," her mother said. "If she needs a place to stay, she can come live with us." I thanked them, grateful for their understanding. After saying goodbye, Lucy's parents left. A couple of hours later, the doctor checked me out and cleared me for discharge. I called my dad to let him know, and my parents arrived just as the paperwork was completed. After the nurse gave me instructions, they wheeled me to the car, and we headed home. When we arrived at the apartment, my dad helped me to the door, and we said goodbye again. "Call if you need anything," he reminded me. "Thanks, Dad," I replied. Inside, I noticed the place had been searched by the police. I also saw a message on the answering machine, "Dead meat." The number was private, and after replaying it, I realized it was a recorded line from a Rocky movie, not someone speaking directly. Then, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a brunette who looked familiar from the night I met Jake. I activated my phone's camera, then opened the door, keeping the chain on. "Yes?" I asked as I opened the door slightly. "Mr. Shipman," a woman's voice responded softly. "That's me. And you are?" "Holly Brinkman. I work with your wife. Can I come in?" "Are you alone?" I asked cautiously. "Yes." I unchained the door and let her in. "What can I do for you, Holly?" I asked, noticing her nervousness. Without a word, she handed me a manila envelope. "What's this?" I asked, taking the envelope. "Please open it," she said quietly. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a pair of gloves, not wanting to leave fingerprints on whatever was inside. I opened the envelope and found photographs of a dead man, hands tied behind his back. I stared at the images. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice tense. "That's my husband, Brian," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "Did you report this to the police?" "Yes, but they ruled it a suicide. The firm we work for has influence. They own part of the police force and some judges." "Did Jake have anything to do with this?" I asked, thinking of the implications. "I don't know, but it's possible he ordered it." "So why are you still working there?" I pressed. "I have no choice," she admitted, her voice trembling. "You're not just a legal secretary, are you?" I asked, the reality dawning on me. "No, my husband tried to fight back, and he paid the price." "So you're forced to stay doing?" "Yes, I'm basically there for the attorneys and their clients." "And Marie?" I asked, now connecting the dots. "She's like the madam. She assigns us. And Lucy?" I hesitated. "She was being groomed," Holly confirmed. I found a note tucked inside the envelope, written with letters cut from a magazine. It read, "Back off, or this could be you." "Did you read this?" I asked Holly, showing her the note. "No, it was dropped at my apartment this morning with instructions to hand-deliver it." "Would you testify to the DA?" I asked. "No, I want to stay alive." "You don't understand how dangerous these people are, especially Marie." "How many people at the firm know about this?" I asked, trying to assess the scale of this. "Everyone at the executive level," she replied. "Thanks for bringing this to me, Holly. I'm truly sorry for your loss." "You're a good guy. Lucy's lucky to have you," she said with a sad smile. "Thanks," I said, escorting her to the door. I watched Holly leave, scanning the street to make sure no one was watching. Once the coast was clear, I locked the door behind me. The voicemail in the envelope had just changed everything. I still planned to divorce Lucy, but now the stakes had escalated, and after I dealt with Jake, Lucy would be praying for the Grim Reaper. I stopped the video I had been watching and picked up the phone, dialing Linda's personal cell. "This is Linda Calloway," she answered. I quickly told her about the voicemail and the envelope. "This changes everything. Bring it to me right now," she said urgently, giving me her address. I decided I needed to get out of town for a bit. I packed a bag for a few days, grabbed the meat cage Lucy had used on me, and put everything in my truck. I also packed some basic welding tools, called my boss to ask for time off, and he agreed, saying I had plenty of vacation time. I double-checked everything, locked up, and headed to Linda's condo, arriving within 30 minutes. She was shocked by the photos in the note. "I also have a video of my conversation with the woman who delivered it," I told her. "Let me see it," she said. I played the video, and she was stunned. "This explains a lot. Can I get a copy?" I let her copy the video from my phone. Then I remembered Lucy's phone in my pocket and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "It's Lucy's phone. I grabbed it the night Jake attacked me. You might find something useful." "I'll have someone check it out," she said, then paused. "Maybe I should involve the state or feds. If what Holly said is true, we can't trust our local police." She looked at me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm leaving town for a bit," I replied. "Let me know where you are, okay?" "Will do," I said. I left, unsure of where to go. I withdrew as much cash as I could and kept an eye out for anyone following me. The images of the man who was eliminated haunted me, reminding me that I could be next if I wasn't careful. Late at night, I decided to call an old friend. "Yeah," said the gruff voice on the other end. "Dave, it's Stan." "Stan, what's going on?" "I've got a bit of a situation. Can I crash at your place for a few days?" "Sure, buddy. Just grab a couple of six-packs on your way." "Will do. See you soon." Feeling relieved, I hit the road, stopping at a convenience store to grab some beer, ice, and coffee. I also picked up some cigarettes for Dave, knowing he'd appreciate the gesture. After all, he was letting me stay at his place for a while. Dave Brolin was about 15 years older than me and had worked with my dad. That's how we met, and he became like a big brother. I learned a lot from him while working in my dad's shop. He had a tough upbringing. His father died from mesothelioma after years in the shipyards, and his sister Beverly cared for their mom until she passed from cancer a year ago. I'd known Beverly for a while. She was attractive and had a girl-next-door charm, but we were more like siblings. I hadn't seen her in a long time and was curious to catch up. Dave had married young but divorced after finding his wife with a coworker. He never remarried, and now looks after Beverly, who lives with him. I arrived at Dave's house around 2:30 a.m. with my stuff and met him on the porch. "Hope you brought beer," he joked. "Of course," I said, handing him smokes. Inside, I saw a stunning blonde coming down the stairs in pajamas. "Who's the blonde bombshell?" I teased. "You know who I am," she replied, flipping me off with a smile. It was Beverly, grown up, fit, and looking nothing like the girl I remembered. "Beverly, is that really you?" "Yeah, genius. What are you doing here so early? Did Lucy throw you out?" "Not exactly," I said, my voice tight. Noticing my bruised face, Beverly's tone softened. "I'm sorry, Stan. What happened?" "That's why I'm here," I replied. "Grab a beer and tell us," Dave suggested. I grabbed 3 beers and handed them out, teasing Beverly about her age. She flipped me off again and smiled, then told me to spill it. So I told them everything about Lucy, Marie, Jake, and showed the video of my meeting with Holly. They were stunned into silence. "Dane," Dave finally said. "Do they know where you are?" "I don't think so. No one followed me." "Good. We're up on this hill, and we'll see anyone coming. I still have the weapons I got from your dad. You remember how to shoot, right?" "Yeah, but I haven't touched a weapon since then." "No worries. I'll take you out back to practice. Bev's become a decent shot too," he said with a grin, and Beverly flashed a mischievous smile. "Does your dad know you're here?" Dave asked. "No, I didn't tell anyone yet. I need to let the assistant DA know though. I didn't decide to come here until I was already on the road. I'll call your parents in the morning. Turn off your phone and take out the battery, just in case there's a tracker," Dave suggested. I shut off the phone and removed the battery. "Lucy's arraignment is Monday," Beverly asked. "Yeah, the DA hopes they'll hold her without bail, but I'm not sure, based on what Holly told me." "You can stay here as long as you need," Dave offered. "I've got a job in a week, but you're welcome to stick around." "Thanks. I'm planning on taking 2 weeks off, so hopefully things will be settled by then. If you need anything, just ask," Dave reassured me. Dave smiled at Beverly and said, "I'm sure she'll keep you busy, but you're our guest. Your folks always treated us well, so just relax and enjoy the country air." Beverly stood up, yawning. "I've got to get up soon and make breakfast. Hope you like omelets and hash browns," she said, glancing at me. "Sounds perfect," I replied. She waved goodnight and went upstairs. After her door closed, Dave and I stepped outside to smoke. "What's her story?" I asked. "I thought she'd be married with kids by now." "She never found anyone she cared for. Dated a few guys, but none of them measured up." Measured up to what? I asked. Dave looked at me seriously. You. She's always had a crush on you. Really? I said, surprised. Yep, the only reason she never told you was because of Lucy. Are you serious? As a heart attack. I've even heard her call your name in her sleep. That's a little too much info, I said, feeling awkward. Dave just smirked. It is what it is. When did she turn into a babe? I asked, shaking my head. She's always been pretty. You just had blinders on with Lucy. Yeah, I guess I did, I said quietly. Look, if you two get together, that's fine by me. Just don't break her heart, okay? She's had feelings for you for a long time. I'm done with Lucy, I reassured him. Good. Just don't lead her on, he added. We finished our smokes, and Dave headed to bed. I followed shortly after and fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. I woke up to Beverly yelling, "Rise and shine." It was 8:30. After my morning routine and a quick shower, I got dressed, pulling off my wedding ring and leaving it on the dresser. When I came downstairs, Beverly was making breakfast in a short t-shirt and cut-off shorts, her hair pulled back. She looked amazing, and I wondered why I hadn't noticed before. "Smells great," I said. She smiled. "Coffee's ready. Want butter, pecan creamer?" "Absolutely." "Help yourself. Just save some for us," she said with a wink. I poured a cup and joined Dave, who was reading the paper. "Morning," I said. "Morning," he replied, still focused on the news. "There's an article about a lawyer getting arrested. Could be connected to your case." I glanced at the article, but it didn't offer many details, so I handed it back. By then, Beverly brought breakfast to the table. "This is amazing," I said after a bite. "Glad you like it," she smiled. After breakfast, Dave stood up. "I'm heading into town for a bit. If you need to call the DA, use the house phone." "Thanks," I said. Beverly handed him a list, and he left. I turned to her. "Need help with the dishes?" "Not necessary, but I'd appreciate it," she replied with a grin. I helped Beverly clear the table, and she tossed me a towel while she washed the dishes. "I see you're not wearing your ring. Are you really going to divorce her?" she asked. "Yeah," I told her I wouldn't tolerate cheating, and I meant it, I said firmly. "Good," she replied with a slight smile. "Glad to see you still have some backbone. So, what's your story? How are things with you?" I asked. She shrugged. "Okay, I guess. Anyone special in your life?" I asked, curious. "There was, but he was taken. Besides, I had to take care of my parents," she said, looking a bit sad. "Yeah, I heard," I said sympathetically. "I worked as a waitress to help out after Dad died, and when Mom got too sick, I stayed home full-time to take care of her," she explained. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I don't regret it. I just hope someone will be there for me when I'm that age," she said with a soft smile. "So what happened after your mom passed?" I asked. "Had to sell a house to cover the expenses. Dave let me have what was left, and I've been living here since. He offered to send me to college, but I turned him down," she added. "Why?" I asked, surprised. "I want to make it on my own. I'm working at McDonald's and taking business courses at night," she said proudly. "Good for you." Dave's still talking about starting his own fabrication business. "He wants me to handle the accounting," she said. "Still on about that, huh?" I laughed. "Yeah, he does custom work for folks around here and makes good money. His dream is to work full-time from his shop. Maybe he'll show me the shop while I'm here," I said. "That would be nice," she replied. We fell quiet, and I found myself really admiring her for the first time. She noticed and raised an eyebrow. "What are you staring at?" she asked. "I think I'm looking at the most beautiful woman I've ever met," I told her. She blushed and looked down. "Stop teasing me." "I'm not. I admire everything you've done. Taking care of your parents, working your way through school. I just wish I'd noticed it sooner. Well, you were blinded by Lucy, she said, smiling. Yeah, you're right, I agreed. With the dishes done, Beverly dried her hands and turned to me, her expression firm. She used you, you know, she said bluntly. I sighed. I think you're right. I saw through her years ago, she continued, shaking her head. Why didn't you say anything? I asked, curious. You wouldn't have believed me. She had you wrapped around her finger, Bev said with a hint of frustration. All I wanted was to keep her happy, I said quietly, looking down. And look where that got you, she said, her voice rising. She got her degree, a new car, and everything else on your dime. Then, when she didn't need you anymore, she traded you in. I'm glad she's in jail because I'd tear her apart if she were here. I believe you would, I said with a smile, trying to lighten the mood. Bev crossed her arms and stared at me intently. I need to know one thing. What's that? I asked. Are you going to fall for her tears and take her back? I shook my head firmly. No, that's not happening. Good, she said, visibly relieved. Just remember that. Without warning, Beverly pulled off her t-shirt and tossed it aside, revealing herself to me for the first time. She quickly undressed, walked over, wrapped her arms around me, and kissed me passionately. We made love in the kitchen as the morning sun streamed through the window. I love you, Stan Shipman. I've always loved you. Don't forget that, she whispered afterward, her voice tender. I love you too, Beverly, I replied, still breathless. I want to stay like this forever. That sounds nice, she smiled, but I doubt my brother would appreciate it. She laughed, and I kissed her deeply again. Then it suddenly hit me. I pulled back concerned. I just realized. I didn't use protection. Don't worry, I'm on the pill, she reassured me with a smile. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if you got me pregnant. I'd love to have your kids. I'll hold you to that, I said, relieved. We should clean up before Dave gets back, she said, standing up and stretching. I need to prepare the meat for tonight. Why don't you shower first? Okay, I'll be up in a bit. What's the meat for? I asked. We barbecue on Sundays, weather permitting. You like venison, right? She grinned. Yeah, but it's been years since I had any, I said, smiling back. Good. I shot it myself with Dave's .50 caliber flintlock and dressed it in the field, she said proudly. You're quite the woman. I'm impressed, I laughed. I knew Dave's flintlock had to be at least 49 inches long. Did you load it yourself? I asked, intrigued. Of course. Patched round ball with 100 grains of double F powder. I even molded the bullet, she said with a wink. Dan, do you like fishing too? I asked, genuinely curious. I love fishing. I bait my own hooks and clean my own fish, she replied, clearly proud of her skills. Is there anything you haven't done? I asked sarcastically. I haven't rebuilt the transmission in Dave's truck yet, but I did help him rebuild the engine, she laughed. I'm definitely in love, I said, kissing her. She kissed me back and said, now hurry up and shower. I'll be up in a bit. I headed upstairs and jumped in the shower. A few minutes later, Beverly joined me. Just wait until tonight when we go to bed, she teased. By the way, you're sleeping with me from now on. My bed's bigger than yours. Won't Dave mind? I asked, unsure. Nope, we're both consenting adults, she winked. After our shower, we got dressed and went back downstairs. I need to call the DA to let her know where I am, I said. Beverly pointed to a wireless phone. Use that one. I picked it up, nearly forgetting it was long distance. Linda answered after 2 rings. Linda Calloway, she said. Linda, this is Stan Shipman. I'm calling to update you on my whereabouts. Stan, I was worried. You're calling long distance. Where are you? She asked. I'm with an old family friend and turned off my cell for safety, I explained. Got it. I'll keep you updated. The feds are investigating the firm your wife works for. I also contacted a top divorce lawyer in the area for you. I hope that's okay." "No problem. I appreciate it," I replied. "She's expecting to hear from you tomorrow. If anyone can help, it's her," Linda said. "Thanks. I'll do that," I said, jotting down the information. Linda provided details and promised to update me on the arraignment before we ended the call. By the time I hung up, Dave was back, and I helped him carry in the groceries. "I called your parents," he said. "They were worried. I told them you're staying with us." "Thanks. I appreciate that," I replied. That evening we barbecued the venison and enjoyed dinner outside on the deck. Afterward, we all helped clean up. Dave and I grabbed a beer and stepped out for a smoke while Beverly finished in the kitchen. "So, are you going to be sleeping in her room?" Dave asked, grinning. I felt uncomfortable discussing it, given that Bev was his sister. Yeah, I think so," I replied awkwardly. "Is this going to be permanent?" Dave's tone turned serious. "I think so," I said confidently. "I just need to finalize my divorce." "Do you love her?" Dave asked, looking me in the eye. "Yeah, I do," I answered without hesitation. "Good. It's about time you got your head straight," he said, smiling and slapping my shoulder. "Bev's a big girl. She can make her own decisions. I just don't want to see her get hurt." "I'd never hurt her," I promised. "Glad to hear that. Welcome to the family," Dave said, extending his hand. I shook it, and we shared a manly bear hug. "Just don't keep me up all night, okay?" Dave laughed. I chuckled and nodded. "I'll do my best." That night, after Bev and I made love, I held her close, thinking about our future. I hadn't felt this content in a long time. "What are you thinking?" she asked softly, her head on my chest. "The future," I said. "Oh." She lifted her head to look at me. "Yeah. What do you want out of life? Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?" I asked. "I'm not one to chase a career," she said thoughtfully. "I just want a loving husband and a family. That's enough for me." "What about your classes?" I asked, curious. "They're more for Dave. He'll need help with his business," she explained. "And what do you want?" "Unlike you," I said. "I just want a faithful wife and a family. I thought I had that with Lucy, but it didn't work out." She smiled. "And your job?" "I love it," I said, "but sometimes I'm gone for a couple of weeks." "Can you handle that?" She laughed. "My brother's a welder, remember? I know what to expect. As long as you come home to me, I'm fine." I looked at her, feeling a peace I hadn't felt in ages. "I wish I'd met you before Lucy." "Me too," she said. "But we'll get through this together. We're a team. I'll always be here for you," she added warmly. "I love you," I said, kissing her. "I love you more," she whispered, holding me tight. That night, I fell asleep feeling truly loved. The next morning, Beverly was up early. After making breakfast, she kissed me before heading to work, reminding me she had class after her shift. "I'll be home by 9:30. You guys fend for yourselves," she said, grinning. "I love you." "I love you too," I replied, touched. After she left, Dave came down and joked, "No kiss for me." Beverly laughed, gave him a quick peck, and said, "Stay out of trouble," as she walked out. I glanced at the clock. I need to call that divorce lawyer. Dave motioned to the phone, so I dialed. "Law Office of Bernice Goodwin," a friendly voice answered. I introduced myself and explained that Bernice was expecting my call. "Hold on a moment," she said. Soon another voice came on. "Bernice Goodwin, how can I help?" "This is Stan Shipman. Linda Calloway gave me your number." "Ah, yes, I've been expecting your call. Normally, I like in-person meetings, but I understand this time is different," she said. "That's fine," I replied. "We can handle most of it online." "Tell me everything," she instructed. I explained the situation, and she listened carefully. "What are your expectations?" she asked. "I want no alimony and my fair share of the assets," I said. "We can do that," she replied. "Your wife's legal trouble will help your case." "Do you own property?" "No, we rent," I answered. "Do you want to pursue action against Marie and Jake?" "I'd recommend suing for emotional distress, not alienation of affection. It's more effective," she advised. "Do what you think is best," I said. "I'll get started. Do you have an email?" I gave her my information, and she said, "I'll send documents, including a contract to sign and a checklist. You'll also need to pay a retainer. Can you do that today?" "Yes," I agreed. "Great. Once everything is ready, I'll have the papers served. Any questions?" "No questions," I replied. Her assistant took my credit card info for the retainer. After hanging up, I checked my email and found 2 documents from Bernice. I signed the contract, sent it back with a receipt, and read through the advice on protecting my finances. Using online banking, I opened a new account, transferring half of our savings and checking into it. I paid off and canceled Lucy's card, but kept mine open for the retainer payment. By early afternoon, I had finished everything. Dave took me to a shop where he was working on a trailer for a local farmer. I helped out, finding it relaxing to stay busy. Around 3 o'clock, we got a call. Dave answered and handed me the phone. "It's your lawyer," he said. "This is Stan," I said. "Stan, it's Linda Calloway. Bad news. The judge set minimal bail and let them go," Linda said, sounding tense. "How's that possible?" I asked, feeling my stomach drop. "Probably on their payroll. The protection order's in place, but it's only as good as the paper it's on. Stay put for now. The feds are watching them. But I can't guarantee your safety," she explained. "Great. So what now?" "Stay where you are. I'll handle things from here. Call if you need anything," she said. "All right," I replied, feeling uneasy. After hanging up, I told Dave. The judge let them go. "Damn, you should call your folks," Dave suggested. I agreed and dialed my parents. My dad answered on the second ring. "Dad, it's Stan," I said, trying to stay calm. "How are you holding up?" he asked, clearly worried. "I'm okay, but I wanted to let you know the judge let Lucy and her friends out. Be on guard. They might try to find me," I warned. "Don't worry, we won't say anything. You still down at John Harrison's place?" he asked. I realized he already knew where I was, and it hit me. Lucy and her friends were likely with him now. I decided to play along. "No, I'm about 50 miles south of there in a motel," I lied. "Okay, as long as you're safe," my dad said, sounding strained. "I'll be leaving here tomorrow, heading east," I added, continuing the ruse. "Just let me know where you end up," he replied. "Can I talk to Mom?" I asked, sensing something was off. "She's in the bathroom," he said, his voice shaky. I thought I heard background noise, raising my suspicions. "All right, tell her I love her," I said. "I will. Love you, son," he said, and we ended the call. I immediately called Linda. "I think Lucy and her friends are at my parents' house," I told her, feeling anxious. "I'll send federal agents over right now. Stay put," she said firmly. After the call, I told Dave, "I think they're at my parents' place looking for me." "Do you think they'll believe your story?" Dave asked. "I hope so, at least for a while. I should probably find somewhere else to hide," I said, pacing. "No, you're staying here. Let me clean up, and I'll talk to the sheriff." "Don't move," Dave said, sounding determined. I nodded, but I wasn't sure how much time we had before Lucy and her friends figured out the truth. A couple of hours after Dave left for town, Linda called back, her voice tense. "Stan, you were right. Lucy, Marie, Jake, and some thugs went to your parents' house after the hearing. They tied them up, but your folks didn't reveal your location. We have an APB out for them, and one of their guys is in custody. but he's not talking. Do you know where they're headed? I asked, feeling uneasy. No, but they didn't buy your story, she said grimly. Here, talk to your dad. My father's voice came through, shaky but relieved. Stan, they didn't fall for it. But we're okay. I think Lucy and her crew are heading your way. What makes you think that? I asked, my heart racing. I overheard Lucy talking, he said. You'd better warn Linda. I will, Dad. Be safe, I replied. Then Linda came back on the line. Where exactly are you? She asked. I gave her my location and asked if Lucy could find me. She knows, Linda said. Stay put. We'll send someone fast. I hung up and headed back to the house, but as I left the shop, I heard Jake's voice. Well, thought you could outsmart us, huh? He sneered, weapon in hand. Behind him, Marie and Lucy stood by an SUV, looking smug. Jake waved the weapon at me. Move. I had no choice but to get in the SUV. Lucy slid in beside me, smirking. This won't end well for you, I warned. No matter, she said coldly. It'll be too late for you. They drove me to a creek bed, and Jake ordered me out. A thug tied my hands behind my back and forced me to my knees. Jake pulled out a longsword and stood over me. Make your peace, he said, raising the sword. I closed my eyes and prayed. Suddenly, a rifle shot rang out. Jake dropped dead, a bullet in his forehead. Another shot struck the thug holding me. Marie tried to grab Jake's weapon, but a third shot struck her shoulder. Lucy cowered behind Jake's body. I heard a four-wheeler approach. Beverly arrived, blonde hair flowing and rifle in hand. She cut me loose, then marched over to Lucy, striking her with the back of her rifle. Don't you ever touch my man again, or I'll blow your head off, Beverly shouted. Lucy, bleeding and trembling, nodded in fear. Beverly then slammed the rifle back into Lucy's kneecap, and Lucy screamed in agony as her bone cracked. We heard sirens in the distance as Beverly calmly reached for a flare gun from the four-wheeler. She aimed it at the sky and fired, signaling the authorities. As the sirens grew louder, flashing lights appeared on the horizon, heading our way. Beverly approached me, her expression softening as she asked, "Are you okay, sweetie?" "I am now," I replied, still in shock from what had happened. "You saved my life, Bev. I can never repay you." "Trust me," she said with a warm smile. "You've got the rest of your life to make it up to me." Soon the area was filled with police cars. Dave pulled up in his truck and hurried over to check on us. "You okay?" Dave asked, concern on his face. "I am now, thanks to Bev. She saved my life," I said, deeply grateful. The sheriff and his deputies took control of the scene. They called for an ambulance for Marie, who was still screaming in pain, and a coroner for Jake's body. Lucy was handcuffed and taken away, but not before shooting me a hateful look. "She eliminated Jake and Ronnie," Marie cried, tears streaming as paramedics tended to her. The sheriff remained calm. "Nope," he said. "This is Dave's property, and under the Castle Doctrine, Miss Brolin was within her rights to protect Mr. Shipman's life. You're lucky she didn't eliminate you two." As deputies loaded Lucy and Marie into separate squad cars, the sheriff told me, "They're both being charged with attempted liquidation and conspiracy. With the evidence we gathered and your testimony, it's a sealed case." After the police collected the evidence and the bodies were removed, Beverly and I got back on the four-wheeler and rode home, with Dave following in his truck, relieved but silent. As we parked, I turned to Beverly. "I thought you had classes today," I said, still in awe. She grinned. "Dave came by McDonald's and told me what was going on. I clocked out, came home, and followed the tire tracks to where you were. I got into the deer stand, and well, you know the rest." "I owe you everything, Bev," I said, full of emotion. "You don't owe me a thing. You're alive, and that's all I care about," she said, hugging me tightly. Inside, I called Linda to tell her what happened. She was relieved I was safe. "Now we've got them where we want them," Linda said confidently. "The firm is going down hard." "I hope so," I replied. I then called my parents, who were equally relieved that everything turned out okay. That night, after things settled down, I thanked Beverly repeatedly for saving my life. Marie eventually recovered, and she and Lucy stood trial for attempted liquidation and conspiracy. They were found guilty on multiple charges, including my assault and illegal detention. Both received life sentences and would never be free again. I couldn't have been happier. Bernice finalized the divorce, and thanks to Lucy's convictions, she got nothing. Bernice also secured a hefty settlement from Marie and Jake's estate. By the end, I was rolling in money. Sure, Bernice got a share, but I was very happy with my cut. The firm settled for a large sum as its partners faced federal charges, including racketeering and suspicious deaths. Eventually, the firm shut down, and the partners ended up in prison for life. It all unfolded in about 6 months, leaving Beverly and me with more than enough to live on for years. I bought a nice ring and proposed properly on one knee. She squealed and kissed me all over. A month later, we got married and spent a week in Las Vegas. When we returned, we sat Dave down and proposed forming DNS Welding and Custom Fabrications. "Are you serious?" he asked. "Hell yeah," I said. Beverly pulled out a spreadsheet and showed it to me. It was the business plan she had been working on. After reviewing it carefully, I nodded in approval. "You know, I think this could work," I said, impressed. "Oh, I almost forgot," I added, reaching into my pocket and pulling out a set of keys. "You know that lot on the south side?" "Yeah. What about it?" she asked, curious. "Did you see the new double-wide on it?" I asked with a grin. "Yeah, we thought you sold it," she replied. "Nope," I said, smiling. "It's your wedding gift from me and your parents. The lot and home are in your name now. Your dad and I moved all your stuff from your apartment, minus anything with Lucy's picture on it." Beverly looked stunned. "Wow. I don't know what to say. I could afford to build a custom home, but the double-wide was nice and sturdy. I wasn't about to turn down such a generous gift, especially knowing it must have cost over $150,000. "Just say thanks, partner," I said, offering my hand. Beverly smiled and shook my hand before pulling me into a bear hug. "You okay with us living down there?" Beverly asked, a hint of concern in her voice. "I'd hate for you to be alone." "I'll be fine," I reassured her. "I might finally get a decent night's sleep without hearing you two all night." We all laughed and celebrated. Later, I called my parents to thank them for the incredible gift. That night, Beverly and I christened the master bedroom of our new home. As we lay in each other's arms, I felt confident that things would turn out well. Of course, with money comes a lot of friends, and some have serious prison connections. Lucy and Marie, meanwhile, weren't so lucky. Behind bars, they had a rough time, cleaning toilets with toothbrushes and doing favors for inmates with special preferences. I guess their horizons just got a lot wider.